YouTube, what's going on, y'all? Ambassador Plays, back in the building. How you doing? Hope you're doing well, not just well, but swell. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And look, man, as y'all can see by the title of the video, Sparking Zero has a new wave, man. This is the new wave of Sparking Zero. Things have changed. A lot of things have changed, in fact. And I'm pretty excited to be making a video over it, to be quite honest with you, man, because they fixed a lot of good things. They fixed a lot of, or I should say they fixed a lot of bad things and made them good, right? One of the most notable things for me is that they slowed down the speed of people's super attacks and ultimate attacks, the blast ones, right? I seen a really good video breaking it down, and it showed Brawly. Everybody knows Z Brawly's ultimate attack, man, where he holds the green key blast inside of his palm and then releases it at you. It's a really dope animation. But yo, that thing was lightning fast, man. And also the problem with it was that it was unblockable. And so post-patch, it was really fast, really, really fast. I mean, pre-patch, it was really fast. Post-patch, it's a lot more slowed down now, which I think gives you, it's a double-sided coin, which is interesting. I think it gives you the time to see, okay, it's coming at me this fast, this is what I need to vanish. Also, I think it can mess up a lot of people who are used to it, right? Because they kind of got the timing in their fingers, and so now it's a lot slower. So if you use the old timing for Brawly's ultimate attack before the patch, you're gonna get hit by it most likely. Or who knows? Maybe you'll have enough time to, hit it once, and then the super's still coming at you, or the ultimate's still coming at you, and you get a chance to, time it properly the second time. And then another thing that they changed is the smash melee attacks. You can do them towards the end of your combo if your combo is long enough. And so it's just a way to get your opponent away from you and power up even more. All right. And so let's talk about if there's anything negative with the patch, right? I'd say the one big quote unquote negative thing is that Z burst dashing is now 2 skill points, not skill points, key bars, whereas before it was 1. Right, and so for aggressive players like myself, that was really good because it allowed you to use it as a tool in order to have immense pressure on your opponent constantly, right? You could kind of make it to where it felt like they could never breathe, and they always had to make sure their defense was on point, or if you're playing DP battles like the gameplay right here, they're gonna have to switch out a character. So I'd say that's probably the biggest negative, quote unquote. And the reason I say quote unquote is, guys, it's important when you're watching all these YouTubers and content creators complain about something or boast about something. Remember that the patch just came out. Everybody's getting used to it, and there's going to be new metas because, like the video says, this is the new wave of Sparking Zero. So just take what people say with a grain of salt. Even this video right here, man, like no content creator's opinion and their take on the game, don't treat it as gospel, right? As if it's just the undeniable, unadulterated truth of the state of the game, man. A lot of this stuff boils down to personal preference and playstyle, right? So people who are more passive probably love the fact that it takes two key bars to Z burst dash now because their passive playstyle is being supported even more. That's something that I've also seen playing this game post-patch, is that there's more passiveness, man. The new cheese, I should say, and since the video's titled The New Wave of Sparking Zero, I kind of want to talk about everything new that I'm seeing so far. The patch has only been out for 24 hours or 48 hours at this point, and so we're still unraveling what the new cheese is, what the new metas are, and things of that nature. But one thing that I have noticed, especially in single battles, man, this gameplay is DP battles, but in single battles, man, I've been running into characters like UI Goku, where his full power into instant sparking, like his instant sparking now, it takes 3 skill points instead of 2. That's another big change that they made. Or it takes 4 instead of 3, excuse me. But something that I'm noticing is that since you can't Z-burst dash as easily, the few times that I do decide to Z-burst dash to my opponent, like he'll do this thing where he backs up, or he'll block or like vanish behind me, and then he'll use his rush super. And UI Goku's rush super does like 12,000 damage, man. So yesterday I'm not gonna lie, I was getting cooked by that, man. I was getting cooked by that, and and I was using a solid character. I think I was using Vegito Blue, but I was just getting cooked by it, man, because, you know, those supers do a lot of damage, and he just kept doing it. And then also he would not engage me. He would sit back. So my only two options were to Dragon Dash, which consumes ki, and I just don't think it's the most effective way to close the distance on your opponent. But he made it to where my only choices were to Dragon Dash or literally just use the flying mechanic that's already in the game, no Z-Burst Dash, no Dragon Dash, and just go towards him and space out Ki Blast. Like, those were my only two options other than sit at the back of the map and also play passive, which I just can't do. Like, I'm gonna go insane, man. This is Sparking Zero. I want to throw hands. I don't just want to throw Ki Blast all game long. And I think he knew that, but that was his whole strategy, and it worked really effectively. Another thing, and this is purely my opinion, I think that they, whether it be intentional or unintentionally, they kind of nullified the change to instant sparking. You guys can let me know what you think down below in the comments, but they made instant spark one more skill point, but then they made Dragon Dashing an extra bar of ki. And so now it kind of seems like it's evened out, because somebody can just play passive until their skill points regenerate, because you slowly gain skill points over time. It's not just going to stay at 0. So somebody can play passive until they get their skill points, knowing that it's gonna take a lot for you to Dragon Dash, so you're most Z-Burst Dash, so you're most likely not gonna Z-Burst Dash behind them, man. And so that's another thing I was running into, but like I said, it's still very, very early, and there's still a lot of things to be figured out. Now, let's talk about DP battles for a second, since that's the gameplay that I provided for you guys in this video, is DP battles. The team I'm running here, if I believe, is what is this? Z Brawly, and I'm not really using him for legendary Super Saiyan form. I just really like Brawly as a character, and his Super Saiyan form is like swagged out. I think he's the coolest character in the game. But anyways, I got Z Brawly. I believe I have Khalifa. I have Master Roshi, and then I think I got like Hercule or somebody. Yeah. And so that's the squad I'm running right here. Now let's talk about DP battles. If you've watched any Sparking Zero content, you may or may not have realized that DP battles has kind of like, I don't necessarily want to call it a game-breaking glitch, but it's a pretty big bug right now, to where in the last 60 seconds of a DP battle, if you switch into any character, I don't believe it has to be the character that you started with. If you switch into any character, they regain full HP, okay? And also, if you transform in the last 60 seconds, you regain full HP. Obviously, this can be problematic, because if you really did a lot of work on a character, especially a 4-bar character like a Fusion, a God, or like somebody like Raccoon, somebody who has 4 bars, if you got them down to their last bar, you're already knowing in the back of your mind, a part of your gameplay is to play very aggressive whenever that character gets switched back into the game, because you know you're going to be able to down it. Yo, this Raccoon is doing damage to my Brawly at the end right there. He lost, but man, he went out with a bang. Like, he was messing my Brawly up in the end right there with that combo. But yeah, obviously a part of your strategy is going to be to play very aggressive whenever that weak character switches back in. But if they come back in the last 60 seconds, there's 2 issues with that. Number 1, you can no longer play super aggressive, because most likely you're going to be at a health disadvantage. The only way around this is to also make sure that you switch out in the last 60 seconds. But you could be in a scenario where you're running a 3-man team, 2 of your characters got knocked, and if your opponent switches back in the weak character, you still have a chance to win in the game. But obviously, since the game has changed now with this bug, that character who once was weak is now full HP, and you lose the game, right? Second problem with this is 60 seconds might not sound like a lot of time, but yo, in a fighting game, especially like Sparking Zero, where you can get off combos, you can get a gut punch or a sweep and then do a special. Specials do 12,000 damage if you're on a good character, and it only takes 10,000 damage to get down a whole bar of HP, right? You're now at a big disadvantage, right? It's very problematic for you, because 60 seconds is enough time to do multiple specials, I guarantee you that, especially if you're fighting a good player. So it kind of forces you to be passive if you guys aren't close in HP, or if the match isn't close in general. Second thing about DP battles, they changed the format in regards to the winning formula. Before, it was strictly HP, if I'm not mistaken. So if you had, it wasn't strictly HP. It was like character and HP dependent, right? But the biggest factor was how many characters you had left. So if the match was close, pre-patch, if the match was close, the game would use primarily how many characters each team had left to determine who's the winner, okay? Post-patch, I don't know if anybody has it figured out all the way 100%, but there's two theories that I've seen going around, and they both make sense to me since I've been playing DP and the game since it got patched. The first theory is that it's damage based, right? The first theory is that whatever team puts out the most damage on the other opponent wins, regardless of whether they have a 2-man team, a 3-man team, or a 5-man team. That's the first theory, and people are coming up with this obviously because they have 5-man teams or 4-man teams, and they're getting beat by people who have 3-man teams. When everything is said and done, the time runs out, they still have all 4 of their characters, and the other team has 3 of their characters. Pre-patch, the 4-man character team would win every single time, guaranteed. Post-patch, that's not the case, and so people are now associating this with, okay, it has to be damage-based. But let me run this by you guys. I seen a comment the other day on somebody's YouTube channel, and the guy in the comments said that he had a group of friends and they were doing a bunch of testing after the patch on DP battles and the win conditions of it. And they said, and this is a second theory, guys, so I'm not, like I said, take everything with a grain of salt. This is just here, for a good talk and information, right? So the theory goes like this. It's not based off of solely damage as to, like, what am I trying to say? It's not based off of strictly damage, whereas, like, whoever puts the most damage wins. Rather, it's based on the amount of damage you've done. Let me see if I can say this the right way. Okay, I'm going to rephrase it. It's not based strictly on how much damage you've done, right? So the person who wins the match has done the most damage. It's not necessarily that. What it is the health that you have at the end of the match compared to the health that you started with the beginning of the match. Now, stay with me, guys. You're going to really have to pay attention to understand this since I'm saying it and it's not in writing. It's like this. If you were to have a 4-man team, but your starting HP is, let's say, 1,000 or 10,000. And then at the end of the match, you've lost 5,000 HP. So the HP that you're ending with is 5,000. Then, okay, the game takes that into account. Let's say the other person has a 3-man team, not a 4-man team. The number of players is irrelevant. It's about the HP that they start with. So the first person was a 4-man team with 10,000 HP. Let's say the second team is a 3-man team with 11,000 HP. Let's say both of you guys played pretty evenly and both of you guys did 5,000 damage. Well, the 3-man team that started with 11,000 HP, after 5,000 damage, is still going to have 6,000 HP. Therefore, they win, even though the other team had 4 players. Does that make sense, guys? Because at the end, the difference between the HP that they started with and the HP that they ended with was the same, but the HP that they ended with, the 3-man team had higher HP. Now, I know that, guys, this is like probably really complicated to follow, especially if it's your first time hearing it, but I hope that makes sense, right? And so that's the second theory that I found. It's that the game takes the HP difference and it goes based on who has the most HP left after the difference. And that difference is how much HP you started with versus how much HP you ended with. Regardless of how many players you have on your team, whoever has the most HP after that difference wins. Okay? So I hope that that makes sense to you guys. All right, now that we've talked about some of the changes of the game and stuff like that, let's talk about the new wave in terms of characters. Which character is the most viable? Okay, guys. Everybody who plays Sparking Zero at a semi-competitive level, meaning like you care about the mechanics of the game and you want to do what it takes to win as often as you can. That's what I mean by semi-competitive. I'm not talking about playing in tournaments or anything like that. I'm talking about you want to win, you actually know the game intentionally because you want to win consistently. Anybody who's played the game like that knows that key is very important. Skill points, important. Health, important. But key has always been very important. Why? Because key is what you need to utilize in order to move around in the game. That's your source of movement, your Z-burst dashes, your dragon dashes. Key is also what you use to string people into further combos and increase your damage. What do I mean by that? Your Z-vanish battles, right? When you're in a chain and someone vanishes and they do a hit and you vanish and do a hit and they vanish and do a hit, all of that relies upon your key. Key also controls your supers, okay? So that's what you string along with your combos to do additional damage, or you can just do a raw super hoping you catch your opponent off their guard, off their game, and gets hit by a raw super. That's when you don't do any combo, you just do it, right? That also takes key, okay? And then also, what you use to close the distance when you're not dragon dashing or Z-burst dashing. You are throwing Ki Blast, and it's literally in the name Ki. So this was already important pre-patch, before the big patch that Sparking Zero did. Now it is absolutely crucial, especially given the fact that a lot of people relied on instant sparking, right? But now instant sparking is one more skill point for every character, so that makes a big difference. It sounds minuscule, it sounds like it's not that big a deal, but it actually makes a big difference, man. So I believe, as of right now, characters who, number one, start with more Ki, like androids, Android 18, Android 17, Metal Cooler, people like that. If I'm not mistaken, they all start with 3 bars of Ki. That's substantial. That's greater than most characters, because most characters start with 2, and there are some characters that even started with 1 before the patch. So you're going to see a lot of androids, people who don't have to consciously charge up their Ki and get their opponent away from them just to charge up their Ki. They gradually regain it back, because that's what androids do. I think you're going to start seeing a lot more androids, especially in DP battles. Single battles, I think people are still going to try to do their cheese, but I'm going to get to that too. So I think androids, you're going to start seeing them even more. Next people that I think you're going to see a lot is Vegito Blues, which I ain't gonna lie, I've been playing after the patch. I'm not even gonna sit here and lie to you. I'm not gonna sit here and hold you. I've been playing Vegito Blue after the patch because he has full power. It only requires 2 skill points, and it puts you from 0 Ki or whatever Ki you have to maximum. So your Ki literally goes all the way to 5 bars, because every character has a maximum of 5 bars of Ki. So your Ki goes all the way to 5 bars for 2 skill points, and I really think that that's going to be, what people want to play primarily, man, because when it comes down to it, that's literally how you can set your opponent up. You can Z-burst dash behind your opponent or dragon dash behind your opponent, man, with those 2 bars of Ki, and then you might be lower than your opponent after doing the dash, but you can just do the full power charge and regain all 5 of your Ki bars back if you just have 2 skill points. And as you can see in the gameplay right here, this game didn't start that long ago. I already have 2 skill points with Z-Brody. It's not hard to gain 2 skill points, okay? Also, characters like Adult Gohan, man, his base form and his Super Saiyan form, they both have full power charge. Now, once you go to Super Saiyan 2, he loses the full power charge, but he gains instant spark. Alright? Another thing that I think will be very popular, and I think I'm calling this one early, is characters with after image, man. Why? Now, let me explain. I don't know if anybody said this to you guys, but just think about it and tell me. I love when you guys get at me in the comments and let me know what you guys think. After image is much like Wild Sense in the fact that whenever somebody hits you, or even if they do a Ki Blast or an ultimate or a dash attack, it vanishes it for you. But with Wild Sense, it blasts your opponent off by hitting them into the distance, and now in order to re-engage them, you would have to do your Dragon Dash. And I'm sorry if I interchange those words, Dragon Dash and Z-burst dash. Like, I get them confused all the time, but you would have to Z-burst dash in order to re-engage your opponent with Wild Sense. With after image, and yo, right here we started lagging bad. I thought this dude rage quit, but he didn't. He actually was just lagging crazy. I'm not gonna lie to you, he was lagging OD. But yeah, we still started putting in the work with Khalifa, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. And I think, now I'm not gonna spoil it for you guys. So while I keep talking about the patch, just enjoy this gameplay. And so boom. Right, with Wild Sense, once somebody hits you, it will vanish it for you automatically, but it also automatically hits your opponent away, to where the only way to re-engage them is to do your Z-burst dash behind them, which now takes 2 bars of Ki. Nobody wants to lose Ki, right? Everybody always wants to be in Ki advantage. So characters with after image, they just immediately vanish whatever it is that tried to hit them, whether that be a super attack, that's a blast, or a rush attack, or if it's just a regular combo, a regular melee hit, it vanishes behind them, but you don't blast them away. So your character is just at a standstill. And you can start comboing them. Think of it as like an automatic instant transmission. That's the best way I can put it to you. You know how instant transmission puts you really close to your opponent, but right behind them? That's what after image does, man. And so I think you're gonna start to see a lot of characters with after image. I believe Hit has a sort of after image. I think Tapion has after image, man. I ran into a few Tapions the other day. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'm not gonna lie to you, chat. So I think the after image is going to become a lot more popular, man, because it's all about conserving ki, man. This game is so heavily dependent on your ki and your skill points, but primarily ki, in my opinion, that I think you're going to start seeing a lot more people do that, man, because it's a very viable strategy, and it's pretty difficult to stop, because unlike Wild Sense, right? When you get hit with Wild Sense, you know that you're going to get blasted away. You know that you're going to get blasted away. So if you're watching somebody's skill points and you see it go down too, you can assume that they put on Wild Sense, especially if there's no cutscene. You know that they put on Wild Sense. And so as soon as you hit them, as soon as you see their character do the little like vanish and the lines are on the screen, as soon as you see them vanish, you tap your vanish button, which is R1 on PS5, right? So you tap your vanish button, and then you just counted the Wild Sense, because when they vanish to do a hit on you from the back, pause, you'll vanish them, and now you'll have their back, and so you just effectively counted their Wild Sense. With after image, I've found it harder to do. I think you can still counter that, but I've found it harder to do. Okay? Also, with after image, you know that they're not going to have that immediate hit afterwards, and so in order to counter it, if you don't vanish it, you have to super counter. That's your only option. You can't tap R1, because you can't just vanish a regular combo starter, attack. You can't. You have to super counter. If you don't super counter it, you're in for at least 2 to 3 good hits if you can get a super counter. If you don't have a good counter, if you don't get a super counter, you're in a combo. No ifs, no ands, no buts about it, man. After that image, you are now being put into a combo. All right? So I just think characters like that with after image are going to become very viable. Another thing that you can kind of start seeing more, and this is my predictions, guys. These are my predictions on the new wave of Sparking Zero from what I have seen so far. So I'm not just pulling these out of my butt, man. This is from what I've seen so far playing after the patch. Another prediction, man, is characters with instant transmission. You got Hit, you got Cooler, you got Kid Buu, obviously you got Goku. Who else has? I think a version of Cell has instant transmission. Gogeta Blue, yo. Like I talked about earlier, I think that the meta is going to become people who have full power charge and can get the ki advantage. But yo, don't sleep on Gogeta, man. I played a Gogeta the other day in singles, a blue Gogeta with blue Vegito, and let me be honest, moment of transparency, guys, I was getting cooked. I rematched him all 3 times, because a lot of times when I lose, I want to do the rematch, man. I don't know if it's my pride or my stubbornness, but I always think that I have a chance to beat my opponent no matter how good or how bad they are. So when I lost to Gogeta, I rematched. But you want to know what he kept doing, chat? Guys, he kept getting behind me. Pause. He kept getting behind me. You want to know how? Instant transmission. Instant transmission, man. And that's another change that they made. I don't know if you guys have recognized, but after you get hit with an ultimate attack, before the patch, you would be lost, right? You'd be in that little gray state where you're looking for your opponent. Now that time has shortened tremendously, dramatically. It's shortened. So once somebody does Wild Sense and you're lost, you lock on pretty fast. But there still is a short amount of time where they get your back and they're able to essentially do whatever the heck they want. This guy hit a perception at the last minute and switched out his Raccoon. That made me so frustrated, because I almost had him done, man. I don't know how he was able to perception that, but he did, man. But yeah, man. There's a small moment of time where you can't see your opponent, and in that time, if they're comboing you, your only option is to super counter. If you don't super counter, you're in a combo. And when people are hitting you in your back, pause that. When people are hitting you in your back, man, the only way out of it is a super counter. If you don't get a super counter, you are getting combo. You are getting combo. They're going to do the lift strike where they take you in the air, then they're going to follow it up with the dash, and then they're going to mash square until you fall out the combo and you fall on the floor. And those of you guys who play the game, you know that after somebody gets you in a lift strike combo and presses square all the way through, you're stuck. And then you're going to get a super attack off. And so that's what he was doing to me, man. Then also, this is the last thing I'm going to say, because the video about to end, the gameplay about to end. I'm going to wrap this up with this. Yo, pay attention and choose your characters wisely depending on their combos. When you get into, how do I even explain it? I don't know the technical term, but when you blast somebody away like I just did with Broly, that move, perfect, gameplay, perfect. You see where I put my foot on him and I push him all the way to the ground? Yo, depending on what character you have, that is gonna have a different effect on your opponent. So with Broly, it kind of bounced him on the ground or stuck him to the ground to where I couldn't really combo after. Yo, Blue Gogeta, when he does that, it just, it puts you on the ground, but you can still combo their back, man. You can still combo their back. And so that kept happening to me over and over and over again. And I was losing. Dude, instant transmission and that right there, because he would keep doing that. And you know, the timing for the advantage battles is a little different now. It speeds up as you continue to go, and so he would keep winning it. And then he got me because he would do that attack and he would have my back and he would just keep hitting me. And so, yeah, but those are the changes, guys. I believe that that's the new wave of Sparking Zero as of right now. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry that I wasn't really able to talk about the gameplay too much. I just really wanted to get on here and talk to you guys about the new patch. If you enjoyed this in any way, shape, or form, please drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 1,000 subs before the new year. I know it's still possible, but only with your help. God bless, and I will catch y'all in the next video. Peace.